It began with a scream that echoed before it was ever heard. The kind of sound that doesn't come from a throat, but from the air itself, bent and broken around something it can't comprehend. When Elijah Hart inherited his grandfather's cabin, he hadn't planned on staying long. The old man had been a recluse, the kind of backwoods legend people whispered about but never saw. He'd died alone, somewhere deep in Black Hollow Forest, a stretch of woods so ancient it didn't appear on modern maps. Locals said the trees there had roots tangled not just in soil, but in time itself. Elijah, a college dropout with too much debt and not enough ambition, figured the cabin might be a good place to reset. Sell it. Move on. He drove out in late October, when the air was sharp with decay and the trees bled amber and red. By day 2, he noticed something strange. The sun didn't rise the same way twice. At first, he blamed it on poor sleep. The cabin had no electricity, no signal, no clocks, only an old, broken grandfather clock in the corner that never ticked. But he woke up one morning to find the sun already high, and his phone displaying a date that was 2 days earlier. He remembered journaling, but the page was blank. He remembered chopping firewood, but the logs were untouched. Confused, he tried to leave. There was only one dirt road in and out. He followed that road for an hour, and somehow wound up back at the cabin. The forest had warped. By day 5, Elijah began seeing things. Shadows that moved without wind, shapes just out of focus, watching. But worse was the reflection. One morning, he looked into the window to check his hair, and saw someone else. It was him. But older. Starved. Wide-eyed with madness. And mouthing something he couldn't hear. He smashed the window. The figure didn't vanish. It turned and walked into the woods. On day 8, he found a journal buried under the cabin's floorboards, wrapped in what looked like rotted leather and stitched with some kind of wire. The pages were filled with writing in a frantic hand. Time here is a wheel, but not a circle. Every rotation is sharper. Every loop cuts deeper. I saw myself die yesterday. I will see it again tomorrow. Don't sleep. Don't stay longer than 12 days. On the 13th, the forest takes you. The last page simply read, "You are me. And I was you." The handwriting was his. By day 10, the forest was breaking. The sky flashed unnatural colors, deep reds and sickly greens. Elk wandered the tree line with human eyes. Birds screamed in his own voice. Night fell at noon, then dawn returned 5 minutes later. The cabin warped with the woods. Rooms stretched. Doors shifted. The old grandfather clock began to tick, but backward. One night, Elijah opened the front door and saw himself. His back turned. He stood frozen. The other Elijah slowly turned. His face was cracked bark. His eyes wept blood. And his mouth curled into a jagged smile as he whispered, "You were warned." On day 12, Elijah carved tally marks into his arm. 12 gashes. He had stopped sleeping. When he blinked, the world would shift, objects reversed, voices looped. He heard conversations he hadn't had yet. He tried everything to escape. He burned the journal, only to find it whole again the next morning. He smashed the clock, only to hear it ticking in his dreams. He walked into the woods for hours blindfolded, only to wake up in bed again. Then he found a corpse hanging from a tree. It was him. Bloated. Pale. Eyes glassy and open. A note hung from its neck, 13 comes. Run. On the 13th day, Elijah ran. He didn't know where. He just knew he had to move. Fast. And the forest opened. The tree split apart like a wound. The ground pulsed. And beyond it all, something vast. A shape with no shape. A shadow taller than any tree. Time bled from it like ink in water. The time eater. It saw him. And it remembered him. Because it had eaten him already. Dozens of Elijahs screamed from its surface, faces stretched and twisted in agony. Some had mouths. Some didn't. All reached for him. All begged. But this time Elijah stood still. And did what none of them had. He pulled the journal from his coat and lit it. The flames roared. The forest screamed. The time eater convulsed. And the wheel cracked. They found Elijah a week later, wandering along the road, barefoot and shivering. He spoke in riddles. "I was my own grandfather," he said. "Don't sleep past 12, he warned. Inside the cabin were over 40 journals. Each one different. Each one signed. Elijah Hart. The forest has been sealed since. Government land now. No trespassing allowed. But if you stand close enough, on a windless night, you'll hear it. The ticking of a clock. Backwards.